for the fans. The glory for the pinstripes.
The Yankees bullpen, our greatest strength, might be about to take a devastating hit. A key pillar of our pitching staff is considering a career change that could take him out of the Bronx for good. The front office is about to be forced into an impossible decision. To understand how this impacts our title run, subscribe right now and do not miss this full breakdown. Yo, what's good, Yanks Nation? Welcome back to the channel. This is your direct source for everything going on behind the scenes with our beloved New York Yankees. Today is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, and the playoff race is hotter than ever. I've got some exclusive inside info, deep dive analysis, and some chatter making the rounds in the halls of Yankee Stadium that could define the future of our franchise. As always, I'm getting straight to the point, no fluff, with the kind of precision you deserve. The final stretch of the regular season is testing our nerves, and every single move, every decision from the front office could be the difference between hoisting championship trophy number 28 or going home empty-handed. The bullpen, which was a fortress for most of the year, has shown a few cracks lately, and that's exactly where we're going to start our breakdown today, with a name who's become a critical piece of our pitching staff, Luke Weaver. After completely reinventing his career wearing our glorious pinstripes, he now finds himself at a professional crossroads that could directly impact the team's plans for the future. And I've got details about his intentions that you're not going to find anywhere else. So stay locked in, because today's conversation goes way beyond the box score. We're talking strategy, we're talking future, and of course, what we, the fans, the true bleacher creatures, can expect from our team. Grab your caps, get comfortable, because the news I'm bringing you today is the kind that sparks debate and gets every fan of the Bronx Bombers fired up. Let's dive headfirst into the Luke Weaver situation. For those who might not remember, Weaver landed in the Bronx late in the 2023 season, almost as a low-risk, high-reward flyer. He was coming off an inconsistent career as a starting pitcher, with stints on teams like the St. Louis Cardinals, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Kansas City Royals, where his numbers were, to be blunt, pretty average. The transition to the bullpen under the guidance of our coaching staff, however, was nothing short of transformative. In 2024, he was one of our manager's most reliable weapons, coming out of the pen in 62 games and posting a spectacular 2.89 ERA, while also notching 4 saves in high-leverage spots. He became that guy who comes into the game with the bases loaded and just puts out the fire, a luxury piece in any bullpen across the league. This season, 2025, the numbers haven't been quite as dominant, I'll admit. His ERA has climbed to 3.82 over 61 appearances, and he's been giving up a worrying number of home runs. Still, his importance to the team is undeniable, especially with the shakiness we've seen from other arms in the bullpen down this final stretch. The thing is, Weaver is set to be a free agent after this season, and the success he's found here in the Bronx has put him in a very strong position on the open market. And that's where the story gets interesting. In a recent conversation with reporters Joel Sherman and John Heyman of the New York Post, two of the most respected insiders in the business, Weaver let something slip that got everyone's attention. He is openly considering a return to his original role, a starting pitcher. He said, and I quote, "For a long time, being a starting pitcher, you don't hope to be a relief pitcher. Being a starter, honestly, has to be the best job in the big leagues, especially when things are rolling." That statement isn't just an off-the-cuff remark. It's a clear signal to the market that he sees himself fronting a rotation again. He used the example of our former teammate Clay Holmes, who made the transition from an elite closer to an effective starting pitcher for the New York Mets, showing that path is possible and can be successful. This possibility opens up a massive debate for our front office. What do we do? Do we try to keep him in the pen with a lucrative deal? Or do we entertain the idea of trying him out in our own rotation? Analyzing this potential transition for Luke Weaver back to the starting rotation, we need to be extremely critical. His reinvention as a reliever wasn't magic. It was the result of a strategic adjustment. In relief situations, throwing 1 or 2 innings max, he could focus on his best pitches and ramp up his velocity, something that's much harder to sustain over 6 or 7 innings as a starter. His fastball, which sat around 93-94 miles per hour as a starter, started touching 96-97 out of the bullpen. That velocity spike, combined with his excellent changeup, made him a nightmare for hitters in short bursts. The big question is, would that dominance translate back to a starting role? His track record before coming to the Yanks isn't encouraging in that department. As a starter, his career ERA was north of 5. The risk for a team to invest a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract in Weaver as a starter, expecting him to anchor a rotation, is sky high. He mentioned Clay Holmes, and it's a fair comparison. But we have to remember that every case is different. Holmes always had a filthy arsenal, especially his sinker, which suggested a potential to induce weak ground ball contact, a vital trait for a starter. Weaver, on the other hand, relies more on stuff and velocity to get strikeouts, which might not be as sustainable when facing the same lineup 3 times through in a game. From the Yankees' perspective, it's a tricky spot. Our bullpen, despite some recent bumps, relies on guys like him. Losing Weaver to the market would already be a blow. Losing him because another team sees him as a starter, and we don't, would be frustrating. Brian Cashman and his crew will have to decide if the value he provides in 20 or 30 high-leverage situations throughout the year as a reliever outweighs the uncertain potential of having him as a number 4 or 5 starter making 30 starts. Honestly, I believe he's found his niche. He's become an elite reliever, and fixing what ain't broke can be a mistake. However, the market dictates everything. If some team desperate for starting pitching comes in with an offer of, say, 3 years and $45 million for him to start, it'll be very tough for us to compete, especially if our plan is to keep him in the bullpen. It's a classic supply and demand dilemma, and a strong postseason performance from Weaver could drive his price up even further. All right, now let's shift focus from the mound to the infield, because I've got a rumor that is an absolute bombshell. It's the kind of move that defines an offseason and has the evil empire stamp all over it. The name is Bo Bichette. Yes, the all-star shortstop from our division rival, the Toronto Blue Jays. Bichette is in the final year of his contract, and all signs point to him testing the free agent market after this season. Contract extension talks with the Blue Jays went nowhere, and the frustration of another unsuccessful season in Toronto seems to have opened the door for his departure. And according to Zach Presnell of Sports Illustrated, the New York Yankees are being pegged as one of the most likely and aggressive suitors for his talents. Let's just look at the facts. Bo Bichette is a hitting machine. He's a 2-time American League hits leader, and as of right now, he's leading the league again with 181 hits. He's a contact hitter with power who plays a premium position. In short, he's the kind of star who rarely becomes available on the open market. Now, let's look at our situation. Anthony Volpe, our kid, the homegrown product, a Gold Glover in his rookie season in 2023. We all love Volpe, his energy, his hustle, but we have to be honest and objective here. Offensively, he has been a major disappointment. Since his debut, his numbers are among the worst of all qualified hitters in Major League Baseball. And what's more concerning, his defense, which was his calling card, has regressed dramatically this season in 2025. He leads the American League with 19 errors at the shortstop position. Those are numbers that a team with World Series aspirations simply cannot ignore. Presnell's analysis is surgical, and I agree with it. He says, with Anthony Volpe struggling mightily for most of this season, it wouldn't be surprising to see the Yankees make a major run at a star like Bichette. It would fill one of the biggest holes on the team, albeit an expensive one. Signing Bichette would also steal a star from a rival. It would be a win-win for the Bronx Bombers. That's it right there. It's a 2-for-1 play. You massively strengthen your own roster while simultaneously weakening a direct competitor in the AL East. The arrival of Bichette would give us a middle-of-the-lineup impact at shortstop that we haven't had in a long, long time. The possibility of bringing Bo Bichette to the Bronx is electric, but it also raises complex questions that the front office needs to weigh. The first, and most obvious, is the cost. Bichette will not come cheap. We are talking about a contract that will almost certainly blow past the $200 million mark, maybe even approaching $300 million, depending on the bidding war. With the massive salaries of Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole already on our payroll, and a likely and necessary extension for Juan Soto on the horizon, adding another contract of that size would require a monumental financial commitment from the Steinbrenner family. It would be the ultimate reaffirmation of our "the evil empire" moniker. The second question is, what do you do with Anthony Volpe? Giving up on a young, homegrown, first-round talent is never an easy call. The most logical option would be to move him to second base, a less demanding defensive position where his lack of range would be less exposed. That, however, creates a domino effect. It would likely mean the end of the line for Gleyber Torres in New York, or perhaps moving DJ LeMahieu to third base full-time. The entire configuration of our infield would be transformed. And while Bichette is a clear offensive upgrade, defensively he isn't exactly a wizard himself. He's known to make his share of errors. The bet here is that his bat would more than make up for any defensive shortcomings. Imagine a lineup with Judge, Soto, and Bichette in the heart of the order. It would be, without a doubt, the most feared offense in baseball. The decision boils down to a philosophy. Do you continue to bet on the development and bounce back of a homegrown talent like Volpe, hoping he becomes the player everyone projected? Or do you seize the rare opportunity to acquire a proven, established superstar in the prime of his career? Historically, the Yankees, at their best, have never hesitated to make the bold move in pursuit of a title. Signing Bichette would be exactly that, a declaration that we're not here to compete, we're here to dominate. To wrap it all up, we have two crucial situations developing for the Yanks' near future. First is the future of Luke Weaver. He's found his groove as a dominant piece in our bullpen, but his desire to be a starter again might take him out of the Bronx in free agency. The second, and more impactful, is the very real possibility of a pursuit of Bo Bichette, which would transform our lineup but would also cost a fortune and force a major infield shakeup, putting Anthony Volpe's future in question. Now, I want to hear from you, Yanks Nation. What's your take on these moves? Should we try to keep Luke Weaver at all costs? Maybe even give him a shot in the rotation? Or is his value strictly in the bullpen? And the big one, are you all in on making a massive splash for Bo Bichette, even if it means moving Volpe and spending hundreds of millions of dollars? Or do you believe we should keep the faith in our kid and invest that money elsewhere, like on the pitching staff? Drop your opinions down in the comments. I read every single one and I want to know what the real fans are thinking. And if you want to keep getting the fastest, most in-depth news and analysis on the New York Yankees, straight to the point, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss a thing. Thanks for watching, and let's go Bronx Bombers.